Hey, everybody. Hey, big questions that I'm getting from everybody is the idea of accuracy and correctness, how it plays part in your training. There's a lot of misunderstanding of it. There's something about this industry that everybody thinks you need to go hard and fast really quick, and get in there. That's the only way you can train. So I looked and I said, I know I did a piece a while back that would really, really help everybody understand what I'm talking about because this is really key when it comes to training because this is the biggest issue that I see most people have. In fact, when they come back to me after an event where they've had to use violence to protect themselves, they always talk about the idea of accuracy and correctness in their strikes coming in. And there's a very methodical way to make sure that you lay the foundation correctly so that you can get accuracy in your striking. And it's absolutely important and it's absolutely achievable. There's a interview that I did a while back. It's about 9 minutes and it's a nice tight piece on accuracy and correctness, why it's important in your training and what results you get from it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the interview for you guys. And then, of course, after I'll make my comments. So the special operations idea is very popular right now. And really in just about any athletic performance right now, is the whole idea of crawl, walk, run. And the default is you don't add speed if it ruins accuracy. And what do I mean by that? Do I mean you never go full speed? No. What I'm saying is you want to always make sure that accuracy and correctness is first, because when you're training, you're trying to tell your brain, hey, when I need this information, this is how I'd like it to go down. I'd like to be here. And so you're going slow and smooth enough to where your body understands, okay, this is what you want me to do, because the brain doesn't delineate between fast and slow. It just says, what do you want me to do? And so it's much more effective to first do slow and smooth training and then add the speed.
If I can,
when you come in.
if I could jump in before we get off the topic, you just reminded me of my high school music teacher, Dan Stevens. So shout out to him, one of the most influential teachers. And I played trumpet, as we play in a chart, and he'd slow it down to a crawl to the point where it would drive us absolutely fucking insane. And he'd just say, look, if you can't play it slow, then you can't play it fast. You got to be able to do it slow first, and that was drilled in.
So it's so funny. There's a couple of things on that. So the talent code is a book that came out by a guy named Daniel Coyle. He went around to all different training facilities of various disciplines: tennis, soccer, music. What else was it? Baseball, all this stuff. And what he found was the successful training methodologies were all the same. And he talked specifically about a music academy up in northern New York, and it trained Yo-Yo Ma. It trained a lot of top musicians, classical musicians, and they had a rule there that when the students are practicing in basically their cabins they had up there, because it's a rural, kind of a camp type of a place, if a teacher could walk by and figure out what piece they were playing too fast. And these guys were going. So it correlates with exactly what your teacher said, which is there, which people don't understand. The only thing I can tell you is the reason I think, especially in self-defense and hand in hand, the reason new people especially want to go fast is because of fear. They're scared. They're scared that the last thing they just did didn't work, so they want to quickly get something else in there. And then they're just reinforcing really bad strikes, really bad targeting, really bad just physical dynamics. That's where if you're a good instructor, you slow them down. Like people always laugh because people say, hey, will you watch me on this? And I never look at their torsos. First place I look at their feet. I look where they're walking, because more than half of the problems I can solve just from they're not stepping in the right areas. They're not deploying body weight correctly. I can make those adjustments really quick. And then I can look at the upper body, and it's pretty easy from there to make those things. Because if you're not positioned right with your body weight, you're not going to get the result, no matter, what you are. So yeah, I mean, it's not that speed isn't important, but it's only important when you're deploying everything. Like I tell people all the time, like a new group will come in, and I'll usually train when I trained at Extreme Couture in Toronto. By the way, dude, I think I had COVID. during that time. I was it was really bad. I mean, it was
we
really.
were for front of the audience. I was looking forward to meeting with Tim. We were going to hang out, grab a coffee and a whiskey. By the way, I have my whiskey here, but unfortunately, Tim came down with some fucking serious illness, and I was. So I'm glad that you're still with us.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was like, this is before kind of like everybody was, saying COVID and stuff, but it was like, yeah, I had to fly to New York really quick. And I spent basically 2 days in my hotel room in New York, just sweating the thing out. But getting back to what we're talking about, even when I say Extreme Couture, they have there's a great gym, man. They had a ton of bags hanging up. And I told the class, I had about 80 people in my class. And I said, hey, listen, if I took you guys all over right now and I told you to kick and punch these bags as hard and as fast as you can, you got your hard and fast. That whatever you have right now is what you have. But you don't know where to put that effort. And so that's why we're going to slow it down, and you're going to show where in the effort. I mean, there's where it really got reinforced for me years ago was there was a fencer, a very, really famous swords. I shouldn't call him just a fencer because he wasn't just a fencing guy, but he was a really, really interesting guy. He's mulatto. He was in France in the 1700s. It's Chevalier is like the name of the title. The name of his title. He was I believe a Marquis Chevrolet. Anyways, he was very famous, and he's very good swordsman. His signature training for a long time was he took a board, like small board, put 3 dots on the board. And he would sit there with the tip of his sword, and he'd step and hit the dot, step and hit the dot, step and hit the dot, just go up and down. And he'd do it for like 20 minutes at a time, just really locking in. And he was laughed at. They were laughing at him all this. And he put a huge foundation down that way. He would smoke people right away. They called him the button man because he literally was that guy that could flip buttons right off of the shirts on it. But his accuracy and correctness, and it was devastating when he added his full speed. It was there. And so that's what I think a lot of clients, and you're seeing a lot of the better fighters do a lot of slow, deliberate training. The guy that got probably some of the most press on that, because he was using like Ido Portal and stuff like that, was Conor. Conor McGregor. And he did a lot of slow training, and people were laughing at him. He's doing the noodles and everything. And then, he knocked out Jose just like right away, on that and stuff. Now, it's not like a guarantee, but his accuracy and correctness, and I think I forgot how Conor put it. He put it differently than that. He said, what does he say? He said something beats. I'll look it up. I'll get it for you. But it's something along the same way as meaning slow, smooth, and accurate is far better than hard and fast with no.
That's that's like the shooting saying, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yeah. Well,
firearms training is really the same. It's the same situation. And it was funny. My Aussie SAS buddies, I did a product with them a while back, and they're really cool dudes. And they didn't know much about TFT back then. I didn't train his particular unit. I trained another unit in Perth years ago, and these guys. And when we did the course together, I helped them. They weren't really sure how to handle this particular class, and I kind of showed them, how we train. And I did the slow deliberate training and everything, and it really helped them, to launch the class. And they came back. They go, "Oh my God, that methodology is so great." And then my buddy deployed to Afghanistan, and he called me from Afghanistan, and he goes, "Tim," he goes, I gotta apologize. He goes, "First of all," he goes, "I can't wait to come back and train with you." He says, "Second of all, I didn't understand until we just finished up." He goes, "We've been doing a workup here," and he said, probably 80% of the time we've been at the crawl stage. We go up to the walk stage, and less than 5% of our training is full speed, there. And if there's any degradation in accuracy, we drop back right away. So the first thing they take out, if you're losing accuracy, you're losing correctness or anything, is speed. It's just not what people think, Will it be there? It will absolutely be there for you, whatever your speed is. And I'm not saying that you never train with at full speed. But what I am saying is that laying down a huge foundation of slow, deliberate, accurate training is just proven. If it wasn't, then firearms training, if firearms training was done the same way most hand-to-hand combat training is, basically you get a safety brief on the gun, you'd know where it's there. The instructor then would grab you by the hair, take you out to the kill house. He'd have the red team in there ready for you, just all ready to gear up. He'd sit there, he'd load the gun for you, put it in, open it up and go, good luck, push in. And then everybody starts shooting at you. And then you wonder why you don't learn shit.
Yeah.
You know, and people sit there and say to me, they go, oh, well, you got to have somebody, you know, punching back right away and doing all. I go, really? How many people do you have shooting at you right away when you're learning? I go, learn one of the most lethal applications. I mean, what's more chaotic than a gunfight? What is faster than being involved in that? And yet, how do they train? They train slow, deliberate, and then anytime there's anything that screws up on the accuracy and correctness, what gets taken away? Speed. Why wouldn't you do the exact same thing when you're training this? You know, I mean, this is how my brain and body. I want my human tools to work really well, and I want to make sure I get that 1 square inch of me on that vulnerable square inch of them. So why wouldn't I want to spend all my time, you know, learning on what ultimately I want the result to be, which is an injury?
So just to follow up too, it's interesting. I had the pleasure of working with a group a while back, and they reached out to me. And these guys are a really interesting unit, and they're a low visibility unit. I'm not trying to be too vague, but you know, they're a black ops unit, and these guys are incredibly good at what they do. And they're amazing with firearms. And they brought in a 3-gun champ, like a firearms competitor. And what was really interesting was this guy was very fast. He's incredibly fast. But the speed that he was able to deploy his firearm and hit, quote unquote, hit a target was very outside of the ranges that these guys were used to. These guys had to have very tight ranges. Why? Because when they operate, they're usually operating in crowded areas, and they have to be very specific. The competitor who trained with them for a week, his thought process was at the end, he goes, you guys are amazingly accurate. You're not as fast as I am in getting things up, but you're far more accurate. And their talk back to him was, yeah, because we have to be. Meaning they can't screw things up. They've got civilians around them. They've got people, you know, when they're taking out bad guys in a very crowded area, they have to be very specific and make sure that they can hit what they shoot at. And so again, they use slow and methodical training at the beginning, and then their fast execution ends up with accuracy and correctness. So understand the most important thing you can do with your human machine is you want to zero it in. You want to zero in each one of these weapon systems that you have. And you want to make damn sure that you're accurate with it and that you slowly understand how to use this. Speed will come. It doesn't, and again, this is something that, you know, the methodologies that I talked about in when he talked about the talent code, those people that were doing the music extremely slow, in 6 months, they accelerated 2.5 years worth of information. That's the value of it, meaning they were that far ahead in that. And everybody that employs this type of methodology gets that much better, that much quicker. But again, it's counterintuitive to what you've been told. And so listen, if you want to make sure that you're training, you know, I assume anybody watching this channel is not a competitive martial artist, that you're looking at this channel because you're concerned about life or death situations. You're concerned about self-protection on the street and in your life. And all I can tell you is the methodology of slow and accurate at first, laying that foundation, is probably the most important thing I can ever get across to you. And what everybody has to understand is my goal in training your brain and your body is so that when I put tools back in your hands, like a knife, a baton, a firearm, you're that much better with it. It's just ancillary. The reason we did this, the hand-to-hand training that we did originally in the military, was to get the guys ready to use their weapons and be even better with their weapons. So it's a great methodology. You just have to trust the system. So I hope this helped clarify any of the questions that you had about, you know, the training methodology that I'm advocating and why I'm advocating slow and accurate first. It's correctness that you want first. Anyways, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification buttons, make your comments. I really get a lot out of your comments. This video came from a lot of your comments, believe it or not. And please share this with anybody that you think could use really good self-protection info. And also, if this is just the first video that you've seen of mine, I notice a lot of you are jumping to conclusions. Like you'll hear one little piece of what I said. Please watch a couple of my videos so you can get more of a feel for the total, principles and methods that I advocate before you just make a comment. Anyways, all the best. Look forward to hearing your comments.